The Andes plane crash, 72 days trapped in ice, expanded survival story. What would you do if you were trapped at 12,000 feet surrounded by endless mountains of ice, no food, no hope of rescue, only death staring at you every single day? This is not just a survival story. This is a psychological nightmare. A horror born not from fiction but from reality. When the plane crashed into the unforgiving Andes, 45 souls were thrown into a frozen hell. They faced a decision no human ever wants to face: either starve or eat the dead. This is the true story of the Andes plane crash. A story that will test the limits of what it means to be human. The Flight of Hope. October 13, 1972. The Old Christians rugby team from Uruguay chartered a plane to Chile for a friendly match. 45 people on board, teammates, family members, and friends. The vibe. Excitement. Laughter. Jokes. Young athletes full of life. Dreams ahead. The route: Montevideo, Santiago, Chile. Crossing the Andes was routine, but the weather was turning. The fatal error. The pilot underestimated his position. Poor visibility. Faulty navigation. Believing he had passed the Andes, he began descent. But the truth was terrifying. At 3:34 p.m. the unthinkable happened. Impact. The plane clipped the edge of a mountain. The wings were torn off. The tail section detached completely. The fuselage, carrying most of the passengers, hurtled down a glacier, sliding like a sled, crashing violently, and then silence. Chaos, death, and survival. 12 dead on impact. Bodies shattered. Blood on the snow. Screams of agony. Injuries, multiple with broken legs, pelvises, ribs. One with a skull fracture, vomiting blood. Some were miraculously unhurt. Fate? Or cruelty of chance? The cold was relentless. Temperatures dropped to -30 degrees Celsius, -22 degrees Fahrenheit every night. First realization: no rescue was coming fast. But they still hoped. The first days of hell. Tiny rations, a few chocolate bars, 3 bottles of wine, candies. They used aluminum sheets to reflect heat. Clothes weren't enough. No one was prepared for sub-zero survival. Snow blindness, frostbite, and hunger arrived quickly. They tried to melt snow on metal scraps for water. Burned seats, but realized there was no fuel left. The crushing news. On day 10, they heard a radio broadcast: search for the missing Uruguayan plane has been officially called off. All passengers are presumed dead. That moment broke their souls. No one was coming. They were utterly alone. The unimaginable decision to eat the dead. After days of agonizing hunger, hallucinations began. Some prayed for a miracle. Some contemplated death. One question haunted everyone: if I die, would you eat me to survive? They discussed. They cried. Some refused. Some accepted. Day 12, the first body was carved. Flesh cut into thin strips, dried in the sun. The first bite was the death of innocence. It wasn't eating human flesh, it was eating to stay alive. It was survival, not murder. Avalanche. Death strikes again. On day 17, while sleeping, an avalanche buried the fuselage. 8 more died, suffocated under snow. The air became a tomb. Survivors had to dig desperately to escape, using hands, metal scraps, sheer panic-driven strength. Now only 19 remained. Adapting to the impossible. Created sunglasses from seat covers to prevent snow blindness. Reinforced the fuselage with snow walls for insulation. Built sleeping bags from aircraft insulation. Learned to melt snow efficiently. But most importantly, they realized no one was coming. If they wanted to live, they had to escape themselves. The climb for life. December 12th. Nando Paradu and Roberto Canessa prepared. Made crude backpacks. Packed human meat, water, wire for climbing. They climbed into the unknown 10 days. No maps. No idea where civilization was. Only endless snow and death everywhere. Temperatures plummeting. Nights sleeping on ice. Legs bleeding. Bodies collapsing. On the 10th day, they saw a man, a shepherd, Sergio Catalan, on horseback, across a river. Catalan threw them a note tied to a rock. "Tell me what you want." They replied, "We are survivors of the Uruguayan plane crash. The rescue, a miracle." December 23, 1972. Helicopters reached the crash site. The world was stunned. 16 survivors out of 45. 72 days in a frozen hell. The world gasped when they learned about the cannibalism. But as the survivors explained, it wasn't about death. It was about life. Chapter 10. Legacy of the Andes Survivors. Worldwide debate, morality, survival, ethics. Eventually, the Catholic Church declared, survival cannibalism is not a sin. Books, movies, documentaries spread their story. Survivors became motivational speakers, doctors, business leaders. The message, we are much stronger, much more resilient than we believe. Final reflection. When death was certain, they fought. When nature showed no mercy, they pushed back. When morality shattered, the will to live became stronger. This is not just a survival story, it's the ultimate testament to the human spirit. But now I ask you, if it were you, would you have survived? Sources and verification. Book, Alive by Piers Paul Reed, 1974. Book, Miracle in the Andes by Nando Paradu. Documentary, Stranded, 2007. Reports, BBC, CNN, National Geographic, The Guardian. Survivor testimonies.